All right. So that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started today. My name is Julie Hill, and so I'm very excited to be with you today as the host from the Keep Indiana Learning Conference. So just a couple of quick housekeeping things. At the bottom of the description for where you joined this, there is a link to the session evaluation. So we just encourage you to make sure you fill that out before you leave us today. That will also give us some good feedback and also trigger those PGP points as I understand it. So without further ado, also want to make sure that if you need closed captioning, you can turn on the transcript feature on your device, and that will provide the closed captioning. Without further ado, I'm pleased to introduce Benjamin Carter, who is currently working as the Executive Director of Career Coaching and Employer Connections at Ivy Tech, where he joined that in February 2020, so just ahead of all of the fun that we started experiencing. So in this role, he leads the strategy and implementation of career development services and employer relations for campuses in Boone, Marion, and Hendricks County. Previous to that, you may be familiar with Ben from his work at the Indiana Department of Education, where he was the Director of Workforce and Innovation, leading the graduation pathways, work-based learning, and STEM initiatives. So without further ado, I am pleased to turn it over to Ben Carter.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Julie. Really appreciate that. And yeah, as Julie said, I'm in the higher ed space now, but previously my experience is in K through 12 space. I was the Career and Technical Education Director for Indianapolis Public Schools, was a former teacher as well. But now I find myself, I'm at Ivy Tech Community College. Dr. Mellon, my former boss, asked me to present on the new model where we are implementing at Ivy Tech Community College statewide called Career Coaching and Employer Connections. It's a bit of a mouthful, but I'm going to refer to it as CCEC. So that's what we're going to talk about today. What I want to start with, though, is an overview of Ivy Tech Community College, specifically the campus in Central Indiana. And as Julie mentioned, live transcripts are available in this session. So Ivy Tech Indianapolis, we have around 35,000 students. We offer lots of different credentials. So certificates, which we refer to as CTs, are approximately 20 credits. Technical certificates, or TCs, are approximately 30 credits. And then associate's degrees, 60 credits. And the great thing about Ivy Tech is all of these different types of credentials are stackable. And so the idea is that there are a lot of on and off ramps for students and people in the community when they come to Ivy Tech. And that's the way we want it to be, because we're not just getting the students to come directly out of high school, we're getting career changers and people in all different aspects and seasons of life. We also do non-credit skills training, which I'll get into a little bit more in depth because that's an area that I oversee. And then again, we have transfer agreements with all of our other university and college partners so that those associate's degrees transfer really well as students want to move into completing their bachelor's. Obviously, we provide employment services, training that leads to promotion, and then enlistment for students that are looking to go that route. So the breakdown of that 35,000. So the majority, around 54%, are regular credit. So those are the students in their academic classes. 31% of that number are dual credit and dual enrollment students. And then about 7% are the non-credit students. And then we have a pretty large population of students that are apprentices. So you can see the breakdown there. The other little sliver are senior scholars, and it's a very small percentage. But it's good to kind of know the student population that we're working with here in Central Indiana. So a little bit more information. Currently, we are 8 sites serving 9 counties. That is shifting. There's been a major shift, and it actually takes place on July 1st. And I'll get into kind of what our new service area will look like for Indianapolis. But you can see the enrollment by county and by age as well. Majority of our students are 24 and under, but there's still a large percentage that are 25 and older as well. And then you can kind of see the breakdown by gender as well. So we just engaged in a process called Project Indy. So we're moving away from those 8 sites serving 9 counties to what Julie introduced as now we're going to be serving Boone, Marion, and Hendricks. So we had sites in these other areas. So Avon will no longer be a site, but our site will be in Plainfield at the MAID at Plainfield facility. Franklin will be overseen by the Columbus campus. Greencastle will go to Terre Haute. We'll still obviously have the campuses in downtown Indy, and then on the Lawrence, on the east side of Indianapolis in Lawrence. Mooresville will go to the Bloomington campus. Noblesville, which is a previous site, is now its own campus. So Ivy Tech Hamilton County, beginning July 1, is its own campus. And so it gets all of the resources that a campus would get. And then Shelbyville will move to Columbus. So there's a very large shift. And again, Ivy Tech Indianapolis, which is the group and area in which I work, will serve Boone, Marion, and Hendricks. A little bit of information about, this is from 2019-2020 academic year. You can see the number of graduates from each of our schools. So it's a nice breakdown there to see that. And then you can see the different types of credentials we awarded as well. And then the presentation is accessible if you want to see that. And then on the non-credit side, here are some of the major trainings that we provide. Everything from CompTIA A+, to advanced manufacturing training, logistics training, healthcare, and even some of the traditional skills trades like welding. So I wanted to give you a little bit of background on Ivy Tech so that you have some context for the conversation. But today, I'm going to share information about our new initiative in Indianapolis. It launched last fall in August at the beginning of the fall semester, Career Coaching and Employer Connections, CCEC. So we kind of start out with this problem. We know Indiana's workforce is not keeping pace with economic growth and demand. There's 42% of Hoosiers with a post-secondary credential, but we know that the jobs in Indiana in the market by 2025 require that 62% have those credentials. So there's a gap there. You can see a 20% gap. So let's take Jasmine, for instance. Jasmine is a student enrolled at Ivy Tech. She is a career changer. She wants to get some skills, land a higher paying job than what she currently has. However, she really doesn't have experience drafting professional documents. She hasn't had a lot of experience networking with employers or preparing for an interview, and she's not sure how to navigate the workforce ecosystem and how to look for jobs. And Jasmine isn't alone. The majority of the students that enter through our doors are in a similar situation. So that's where CCEC, Career Coaching and Employer Connections, enters in. So our mission is to empower Ivy Tech students with coaching and experiences, and also support to take that next step by strengthening their social capital, making sure that they have those critical employability skills. You can see an employability skill poster behind me, which that's helpful. And then kind of like I mentioned, connecting them to talent. And the idea is that by doing this, we'll be able to close that gap from 42 to 62. So there's 3 different aspects to the work that we do. There's career coaching, there's career experiences, and then there's the employer-facing work or employer consulting. So I'm going to talk about career coaching. So I have a team of 5 career coaches, and they oftentimes work with students one-on-one to help them gain insights about themselves, and really kind of they do career assessments with them. So students will learn about, their interests, their values, how those connect to different career opportunities, and then ultimately, which particular pathway, plan, credential at Ivy Tech can help them progress in that journey towards what their goals might be. So our career coaches work directly with students to help them create those career pathway plans. We utilize a career development portfolio. And that's the way we track the different activities that we feel are important for students in order to be successful. So on the screen, you see a few of those different activities, but the first one that students start out with is meeting with their coach. So either meeting one-on-one or meeting in a group setting with their coach. We have them do, obviously, like I said, an interest inventory. Currently, we're utilizing a system called Tradeify or Indiana Career Explorer, which will be soon revamped. And we're going to be moving over to a new platform as well called Ivy Career Strong, which is a strong interest inventory. So when students take our new 8 to 10 minute assessment. It'll kind of help them gain some insights about themselves, but it'll connect directly to different majors and areas of interest. And we haven't had that tool before. So in addition to meeting with their coach, we're expecting them to create 2 professional approved documents, a resume and a cover letter. So we support them with workshops and development in that area. And then they submit those professional documents to a platform we use called Hire Ivy. And that is our job board, as well as our platform for tracking different activities from the career development portfolio that's accessible to our alumni and our current students. We expect them to do interview prep, and then prep for work and learn. So before students participate in a work and learn or work-based learning experience, we want to make sure that they have the skills necessary to be successful. So we do different workshops and specific employer engagement opportunities. We want to develop students' employability skills. We want them to actually participate in a work and learn, which employer engagements integrated throughout. We want them to have some sort of professional networking profile, and in many cases, that's going to be LinkedIn. And then ultimately, we want to launch them into their career of choice. And so we support them in that process. And our coaches are charged with tracking student progress through these different milestones. So here's a more in-depth breakdown. You can see that at Ivy Tech, obviously, traditional path for a student would be 2 years towards an associate's degree. And then you can also see it broken down in the credit range as well. But we want students to experience these in an integrated way. So they have certain milestones that we want them to complete during year 1, during their 0 to 15 credit hour range, and then all the way through. And those experiences and opportunities progress in specificity and difficulty as students move during their journey at Ivy Tech. So you can kind of see along the left-hand side, it says meet with your coach, then resume and cover letter, and students are checking off one or two of these boxes, and we track that in Hire Ivy. So continuing on, we have the same kind of thing: networking skills, work and learn prep, interview prep. And when you look at each of these, for networking skills, we're really helping students develop an elevator pitch. So that 30 to 60 second pitch on who they are. And what we know is in a lot of cases, and I'm sure many who are listening or hearing this right now live are aware that that first question, in an interview or statement is, tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell me a little bit about your journey and how you came here and why you're interviewing. And that cue right there, the student can kind of go to that muscle memory. They should have practiced and utilized their elevator pitch multiple times, but also utilizing that elevator pitch in a networking event as well. When you look down at interview prep, we utilize a tool called Interview Stream. So there's a few different ways to do interview prep. We can do a mock interview with employers. We can do an interview workshop where students get to hear from coaches on key skills for interviewing and practice those. And then we also use a platform called Interview Stream, where a faculty member or a coach can craft specific questions that are related to a job or an interview opportunity that a student can go in and record their responses to. And then that student will get feedback from a faculty member, a career coach, or even an employer on their answer responses. So it's a nice tool for that. And then again, we're really encouraging students to utilize the STAR method, explaining the situation, identifying the task and what their role in that task was, what action they took, and then ultimately what was that result, and if possible, what was the quantitative result of the actions they took. And so we're training students in that fashion. Completing the work and learn experience, I talked about Hire Ivy, which is our job board for alumni and current students. And that's a place that we funnel all employers that come to us looking for Ivy Tech talent to that area. We have the professional networking and then ultimately the launch. So we want students to launch into their career, and we really want to know where they're going. So right now we're working on creating a culture of placement and collecting placement data so that we can clearly identify our return on investment for companies and for our programs so that we can make adjustments as needed. So with all of these different milestones and activities, where those best practices or resources lie, we have a resource toolkit. And so when we talk about resumes, we have step-by-step instructions for drafting and creating a best practice resume and a cover letter. So students can go in there, faculty can go in there and pull it into their class. And also we have, for every milestone, we have resources that students can utilize, coaches can utilize, faculty can utilize, and other staff can utilize to ensure that what's being instructed to students is consistent, clear, systematic, but also in line with current best practices. So that's even down to LinkedIn profiles, elevator pitch, and any of the other components that are involved there. One of the other resources that we've implemented is we created a survey for faculty to use. So we really want there to be buy-in for our services. And one of the ways that there's buy-in is obviously if a student has that intrinsic motivation to partake, or if faculty are invested in the need for our services, as well as they have a deep understanding that students need to develop these professional skills. So we created a menu of options where faculty can kind of say, yeah, this is what I want to have happen. So from an overview of career coaching and employer connections, we can do career exploration. There's that system I talked about, Tradeify, so they can have us come into their class and talk to students for 20 to 30 minutes, lead them through an interest inventory assessment. And we found this very useful for faculty to be able to kind of opt in to this menu of experiences. We'll do career exploration with Indiana Career Explorer. Obviously, it's a little bit more lengthy when they're going through that assessment platform. There's an Ivy YT, which is our introductory kind of career class. We'll come in and do a work values project with those students. We have workshops that are related to the milestones, which are part of that career development portfolio. So resume and cover letter workshops, employability skill workshops. We do an elevator pitch workshop, professional networking workshop. And again, it's great to kind of systematize and create presentations that the coaches can use and refine those resources, as well as create resources that faculty can utilize as well. We'll do an interview prep workshop using the STAR method, and then supporting students as they understand how to navigate job search through a job search workshop. And then the final is like the importance of pursuing work and learn opportunities. So convincing students of the need for having experiences in the related field of study where they're wanting to pursue. And I think it was either second or first on NACE's, the National Association for Colleges and Employers list for the most important things for landing a job is having some type of experience in that field, and work and learn can definitely get you there. And then an employer-led workshop, which are very popular. So our employers want to hire Ivy Tech students, but one of the things is they need to build their brand amongst our students. So they need to come in and speak with students face-to-face, tell students about the different opportunities, but also share information about why their company and culture is a good fit for the students. We do another strategy, which is resources for faculty. So when you think about faculty overseeing their classes, at Ivy Tech, we utilize Canvas. We call that Ivy Learn. And that's where faculty keep their classes, their resources. That's where the students from their classes go into Canvas and participate in different activities. So we created 8 different modules that are in a Canvas shell that can be pulled in by any faculty. And you can see the different opportunities. But the idea here is that we're not necessarily trying to go in and own the class. We're trying to help scale some of the important practices and experiences we know students need to have. A lot of our faculty do have resume and cover letter assignments, and so we're trying to take some of that burden away from them. So that was career coaching. The next facet is the work and learn side, so career experiences. I have a team of 5 career experience specialists, and basically they're work-based learning coordinators, but they also are directly connected with employers to help source talent for those employer partners. And I would say that's a big part of what our team does in this aspect, is not only source for internships, which we're really encouraging employers to develop internship programs in terms of a long-term, more developed pipeline for talent. But in a lot of cases, they have immediate needs, and our team here works with them to get the position posted. They promote the position, creating promotional materials. They identify opportunities for employers to get in front of students, to speak in classes as guest speakers, to do external events like information sessions. And then also they facilitate our hiring fairs or career fairs. And then this year, all of our career fairs were virtual, and we shifted to a virtual platform. And this team of people are the folks that led that work. So here are some of the experiences. And It moves from career awareness, so the activity type, all the way to career experience. So it's a progression. And I believe when I was at the Department of Education, in our work-based learning manual, there was also a progression very similar to this of depth and level of experience, starting with awareness to exploration to prep, and then ultimately that experience. And so you can see the different aspects. We have a work and learn definition guide so that people know exactly what each of these mean. But you can see there's the employer panel, there's a case study. And then at the bottom, you have your work and learn experiences, your internship, your state earn and learn, registered apprenticeship, practicum, clinicals. And the career experiences team is the team that helps to facilitate student access and success in these experiences. So here's just a couple examples of some promotional activities that our team's created. When an employer reaches out and says, all right, we have this need, we really need a lead teacher and a teaching assistant. Oftentimes we find that if the employer is willing to include the salary and any benefits for the position, they're likely to get more looks from students on our platform. And so that's really important. So you can see this particular position. We did a virtual work and learn fair. So last fall in October, this particular fair wasn't for full-time positions. This was for internships, pre-apprenticeships, apprenticeships, and different work and learn experiences of that nature. So it was solely focused on that. So any employer that participated in this experience was required to have a work and learn position posted on their site before they joined the conversation. This is an example. One thing I didn't preface is that when we launched CCEC in Indianapolis, our initial focus, our pilot, if you will, was the School of Information Technology and then our general studies program. So those are the two cohorts of students that we really focused in on. And this shows you kind of a month's worth of events that took place in the School of Information Technology. So everything from resume troubleshooting to meeting directly with employers. You can see Genesis, Brooksource, Aperio, excuse me. And it's nice just the way it's laid out. So exploring careers, and that's what CCEC has brought to the college, is just a systematic approach to employer engagement and student understanding of the critical skills and experiences they need to have to be successful when they take that next step. Here's an example of a career fair promotion. So we partnered business and general studies, and you'll notice on here that we have only 7 employers. Originally, we used to do all majors career fairs where we'd have like 50 employers, 100 employers, and just invite everyone to come to the career fair. But what we found is that is not quite as effective as doing more of a smaller based intentional career fair that's linked with a specific program or school that has a smaller number of employers. So not only do employers like it better because the students, come into their breakout room or visit them more consistently, there's a higher likelihood that every employer is going to get the chance to meet with multiple students. But it's obviously more targeted. So we know that we know the knowledge, skills, and abilities that students in these different programs have. And so we can specifically pair employers with students in this type of setting. And it's been very effective for outcomes. And we've seen a lot of students obviously land interviews and positions through this model. We recently had an opportunity that was a statewide opportunity with one of our major employers in Indianapolis, and they had a specific way that they wanted resumes crafted, and they had a specific way that they wanted students to operate when in an interview. So in order to give students the best possibility there, we created some different drop-in lab opportunities. So these are the different times that we made ourselves available for drop-in sessions. So for interview prep and for resume open lab, and that's where students could visit. And you can see there's a Saturday session on there, and then there's even a session that's in the evening as well to accommodate student needs there. Another example of a job and internship fair with our human services program. And again, this is just an example. We're targeting specific programs and specific schools instead of that all majors approach. We also partner with the Office of Work-Based Learning and Apprenticeship to develop additional state earn and learn opportunities. This particular one was in partnership with Brooksource and the state's IoT department. And this particular event was an opportunity for Brookstores and personnel from IoT to come speak with our IT students about this state earn and learn opportunity. And for this virtual event, we had over 50 students from our School of IT come in and listen. And we're still waiting to hear on which students have been hired, but I expect to hear some good news in the coming weeks. Okay, so that was career experiences. So again, career experiences that facilitate work and learn, intentional opportunities with employers, and then career placement. So part-time, full-time, and internships. The final component of the model is employer services. So I have a team of employer consultants and program managers, which work directly with employers. So I would consider them the front lines, the liaisons to the employer community to provide the different services you see on the screen. So customized training, targeted professional development. So the idea is that we work directly with employers, not to tell them like, all right, here's the programs we have, but we say, what needs do you have? And we create customized solutions to meet their needs. And oftentimes they want to assess where their employee base is to determine what the best fit for those employees are in their company. Or maybe they want a specific type of training for employees at their workplace. In a lot of cases, it might be communication training. Maybe it's specific hard technical skills that are needed to skill up an employee base if there's changing technology. But whatever that particular employer's needs are, we work to craft the solution. It could be professional development, customized training, could be assessment. And maybe they're interested in working with us on our deferred tuition program, which is called Achieve Your Degree. So we have a concierge tuition deferment program where our team works directly with employers to help them through that process. And then the other aspect is talent acquisition, which is really overseen by our career experience specialist. So some of the skills training, our team will do a needs analysis and we can do contract training, which is specific for an employer's employees. Or we can do open enrollment options. So maybe we're going to work with the local Work One. We're going to work with some community-based organizations. We're going to really study the data, and we're going to hear from employers anecdotally and with some statistical evidence behind it. And we're going to say, all right, well, there is a high need and demand for a specific type of training, and there is, these list of employers in this specific community that might need this training. And so we offer what we call open enrollment, which is open to anyone in the community. And we try to line it up with federal and state funding so that participants can get funding to participate in those training experiences. And really what we want to do, we host some of those at Ivy Tech at our campuses, but in a lot of cases, we want to host those in the community. So community members feel comfortable. We'll go to community-based organizations and put on these trainings with support of people at those organizations who really know the community members and that the community members trust. And again, I talked about the consultants and then the 3 program managers. So short-term credit, kind of want to talk about how that non-credit, that training connects to the academic side of Ivy Tech. I talked about the stackable credentials in the beginning. You have the certificates, you have the technical certificates, and you can kind of see how they stack upon one another. Most of our classes at Ivy Tech are offered in 8 weeks. And then you can kind of see a student could earn a certificate in 2 to 3 semesters. And then the idea is that the industry certifications earned through our non-credit programs. The majority of our non-credit training, like I mentioned before in the previous slide, are directly linked to industry certifications. So when a student earns an industry certification with that training, we can crosswalk it to credits. So we call that PLA, or prior learning assessment. So students earn actual academic credits that take them on their way towards earning maybe a CT. So what that looks like, let's say we do our CompTIA A+ training and they earn that certification. Well, by earning that certification, they can knock out 2 of the required classes from earning that certificate, which is really important. So we want to use the non-credit training not only to skill up the workforce, to help individuals skill themselves up so they can land great jobs, but we also want them to connect to earn additional credentials that even have maybe even higher value in the marketplace. So that's how we do that. Some of our examples of skills training you see on the screen. So we do CDL training, we use SHRM, Society of Human Resource Management, some of the IT training that I mentioned. We do some refreshers in the healthcare space. And then some of the other pieces, we just launched a manufacturing processes training with Catapult. So this 160-hour, 4-week training helps participants land jobs in entry-level manufacturing logistics jobs. So I want to get into some of the impact by the numbers. So I said before, our program launched August 24th. We focused on School of Information Technology, which has a little over 1,000 students, and then General Studies, which has around 1,400. Our strategy to start was to make an intentional focus on the students in the 0 to 15 credit hour range. And so you can see the numbers there. And the reason we started in that range is because these particular students would be starting out with their career development portfolio activities, but we also know that we have a retention issue with that population of students. So if we could connect them with an adult that cares about them on the campus, like a career coach, like a specialist, then we think we can have an impact on student retention numbers. Again, tracking activity milestone completion, figuring out the number of students on track with CDP activities, and attempting to get students into work and learn experiences. In the spring, so January 2021, we added health sciences, nursing, and then 3 programs from our School of Advanced Manufacturing, Engineering, and Applied Sciences. We added design tech, industrial tech, and automation and robotics. And then we had over 1,000 students meet one-on-one with a career coach or specialist. We had a lot of touch points with students, so almost 9,000 touch points. A lot of those were in new student orientations. And then you can see the number of students that attended either a classroom presentation or attended a career exploration workshop. We had a huge amount of students complete a career exploration assessment, either Tradeify or the Indiana Career Explorer. And then when I pulled this information, we had around 37 employer engagement events. You can see around 156 employers, and then over 600 students that interacted with employers in those different events. The team was able to get a 57% increase in reviewing professional documents, so resumes and cover letters. We reviewed over 2,300 documents in higher Ivy this year. So kind of going forward until we open it up into questions about the model or any thoughts that you have, or I'd love to hear about anything that's happening in your particular ecosystem, whether that's K through 12. I think that there are a lot of ways that career coaching and employer connections can connect and should connect with the K through 12 ecosystem, especially with graduation pathways, the focus on that, the focus on getting students experiences, the addition of next level programs of study in the career and technical education space, but just the need for students to be aware of who they are, be aware of what opportunities are in their community, and the path to bring some of their aspirations to reality. So there were the final 5 campuses. You can kind of see the rollout. We call it's pilot, but we call it alpha in Ivy Tech. So you can see Indianapolis was the first stage, and then all of our 19 campuses will have a career coaching and employer connections. So I know that there could be folks from around the state listening to this presentation, and I would encourage you either to reach out to me or reach out to your local Ivy Tech to get connected to their career coaching and employer connections. Some of our colleagues have focused on that high school population as well to provide support. And I know in Indianapolis, we're going to be making more inroads to connecting with our local area schools to provide resources, but to provide opportunities and access for students to some of those employer-based experiences, career coaching activities that we know can be meaningful for students. So my information is on the screen, my email, and you can see my the address for our website, and then a phone number as well. So I would just encourage you, if you want to get connected with me, you have additional questions about career coaching and employer connections, or maybe if you want to get connected to your local area CCEC team, you can reach out to me and I'll make that connection for you. But at this time, I would just welcome Julie and open it up to any questions you have, if there are any at all. You can feel free to drop those in the chat.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Ben. I do see one question in our Whova chat. Do high school students have access to the career coaching and employer connections through their Ivy Tech accounts?
Yes, I think that is the goal ultimately, for high school students to have access in some form or fashion. We definitely want there to be opportunities for pre-enrollment coaching. It really depends on the region. Like I said, some of our colleagues are really closely connected to their high school partners. In Indianapolis, it's in the areas we serve. And since we have such a large campus, our first initial focus was just on internal students at our campuses. But yeah, I think that it's definitely worth a conversation. And I think that moving forward, there will be opportunities to collaborate and work together with your local career coaching and employer connections team.
Great, thanks, Ben. At this point, I don't see any other questions that have popped up on the Whova. So is there anyone else that has any questions that you want to drop in there? Okay. If not, I just want to thank Ben Carter again for being here and for sharing this great information and great resource to our students. You've got all of his contact information up here on the screen. So again, feel free to reach out to him if you have additional questions after today. And then just lastly, a reminder to please complete that survey. So again, the link to that is at the bottom of the description. So if you scroll all the way down, you'll see a link there, and that will also then trigger your PGP points for participating today. So thank you all for being here. Thank you, Ben, for sharing everything, and I hope everyone has a great day.
Appreciate your time. Thank you.
And then Ben, I'll have them connect with you to figure out if the recording worked, if that's something they need to have you send, and all that other good stuff.